all of a sudden, it grabbed me by my shoulder and pushed me onto my side. And then it took this long silver needle and it held it over the side and showed it to me. And then I said in my mind, "What are you doing?" And I heard a voice as clear as day say, "I'm masking your memories."
Welcome back to Hey That's Weird with me, your host, Luc Frost. Thanks this week to Stephen, Martha, Deirdre and Casey for letting me know how much they're enjoying the show. I also had a couple of comments requesting the show to be scarier, so I thought I should quickly address that. Hey That's Weird is never going to be the scariest podcast you've ever heard. My goal has always been to give my storytellers, who are vulnerable enough to tell me, a stranger, their story, a stage on which to do so. This podcast will always prioritize its guests. I'll never ask people to alter their experiences to make it scarier for the audience. It's just not that type of show, and breaking my guests' trust is just something I'm not willing to do. A lot of you came from the same podcast background that I do, constantly on the hunt for a story that'll terrify you from shows like Radio Rental or Spooked. As much as I cite shows like that as an influence of this one, I think it's important for me to say that I don't just want to create a carbon copy of the shows that I listen to. I want to do something different, something fresh. Anyway, now that's out of the way. This week's story is a little different. My guest, Jonathan, has had many strange and weird experiences in his life. When he reached out, he told me that he tried to talk to other podcasts about his stories, but has never received a reply from a single one of them. This was really disappointing to hear from the paranormal podcast community, and I couldn't wait to hear Jonathan's stories myself. Not only did I discover that his stories are engaging and mystifying, I also found that he is such a kind, compassionate, and gentle person. He was really a pleasure to sit down and chat with, and I'm so excited for everyone to hear his episode. So, without further ado, my new friend Jonathan, let's get weird.
My name's Jonathan. When I was 45, almost 7 years ago, I was functional, but I drank every night. For whatever reason, I wasn't going to stop. I had heat stroke at my job. I collapsed and I went into AFib. They rushed me to the hospital and I was in a coma for 3 weeks and I almost didn't make it. I haven't had a drink since then, so I'm not drinking. I had chewed nicotine gum to keep from smoking cigarettes. Well, I'm done with all that now. 2 weeks before this happened, my partner Max told me one morning, we woke up and he told me that he had a really bad dream and he wanted me to quit drinking. I asked him what the dream was and he said that he had dreamed of like this stereotypical banshee or hag floating over me. She had a book and he stepped between her and me, like to get between us, and she said, "Now is not his time," and disappeared. He thought it might have been death trying to take me. And then all that happened. So I really had a struggle, on my hand. I had some memory loss. I had to learn how to walk again. But within 6 months' time, I was back to working again. I did the physical therapy and just, it was a long journey for me. I left the job that I was at and found an even better job. And I've been there ever since. It really is interesting that he saw that before all that stuff that because I thought I was, healthy. I didn't think anything of it. But I guess I had a cascade of that, dehydration, the heat, the drinking, the stress it put on my body. I'm lucky I made it. I try to think about that in terms of just being really appreciative of the life that I have and being thankful every day for the day that I have, If I am on borrowed time, I can tell you I've made the best of it. I've got a life insurance policy now, so if something happens to me, Max will be okay, and my mom will have some money. And I could live another 20 years, But the fact I've done things to make sure that the people around me are okay, that's been a big thing for me. So, but yeah, no more drinking. When I was 4, my mom and my stepdad and I lived in Atlanta, Georgia. And this would have been about 1978. And if you know anything about that city, they were having problems with child abductions at that time. And they hadn't caught the guy that did it. So, everybody was extra careful. And the reason I tell you that is because that night when my mom put me to bed, she left the door cracked open. And I didn't even have time to go to sleep. I just heard her walking away. And I noticed something moving in the corner of the room. And I just kind of watched it and laid there. And then something kind of stepped out of the shadow part of it. And, in my child's mind, I thought that what I was looking at was, the Count from Sesame Street. I know that sounds crazy, but it was only like maybe, 2 feet tall. It had a black robe. It had pointed ears and a long pointed nose. And then it turned to me and started moving towards me. I couldn't move. I was kind of frozen. And I just watched it happen. And as soon as it got maybe 2 feet from me, it stopped. And then it growled at me. And when it did, I could see its mouth. It had these sharp teeth. It was a big mouth. I jumped up. I panicked. I ran out of the room screaming.
There's an old man's face.
Those are the exact words I used to my mom. And she ran in there immediately. And she didn't tell me this at the time. But years later, when we talked about it, she told me that she had seen something basically that sort of fits like maybe a brief glimpse of what I told her I saw. And it backed out through the wall, and then it stared at her through the window for maybe just a second, and then it was gone. And this was on the second floor. But they thought when I ran in there and said that, someone was breaking in, trying, with the child abduction aspect of it. But after that, I think I slept with my parents that night, little kid, and I was scared. I do know that it wasn't just me dreaming because, like I said, my mom saw it. She caught a glimpse of something. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but what I've kind of pieced together from some of the other things that happened is that whatever this was, it kind of marked me, I think, because when I tell you the next story, that'll make more sense. A year later, my mom left my stepdad, and she was trying to start over, and she moved back down to Florida with me, and we stayed with my grandmother, and she was working, and she was going to school at night. So my grandmother, I spent a lot of time with her. She was retired, and she liked to watch her shows, and she loved to drink Coca-Cola. And I don't remember a time, when she didn't have one in the house or in her hand. It was a Wednesday night, and the key details I remember is that it was probably about 8:15. We got in the car. We were going to go up to the store, and she lived maybe not really rural, like not 30 miles out in the country, but, just a few miles outside of town. So it was maybe a 10-minute drive to the store and back. And we had to go down this long dirt road, and we went and we got the sodas, and we were coming back, and we were trying to get back in time because my grandma wanted to watch The Love Boat. Like I said, she loved her programs. So we're coming back on this dirt road, and when we got around the corner, we pulled out straight, and there was a craft maybe 20 feet in front of the car. It looked like two large metal salad bowls stacked together. And there were lights in the center of it, and they were blue and green, and they were moving in a systematic way around it. The car died, just puttered out, And I remember the car filling up with light and my grandmother saying, "Oh my God." And I was freaking out. Well, she goes to start the car and then it was gone. The car starts. I'm like, I'm a kid, I want to tell my mom. I want to tell everybody what we just saw. And my grandmother told me not to. She said people would think, that we were nuts. And this was long before any kind of open disclosure from the government about anything. And we get home and it's 9:45. It should have been like maybe more like 8:40 or 8:45, at the latest. Then my mom pulls up and she's wondering what we're doing, just pulling up to the house. She was a little angry, because I'm supposed to be in bed. And so I told my mom, and my grandma she brushed it off, and told my mom that, we saw it, but she was not going to bring it up anymore. Now, the thing about this, though, for maybe a couple of years after that, I had the same reoccurring dreams, 2 dreams. One of them was being pulled out of the car by long white arms and kind of being carried above myself. And sometimes I would see that happening with my grandmother. And I really believe that this was more than just a dream, because the detail, like they were pulling out her dentures when they were carrying her, and she was acting really confused. And that's always the same dream. It never changes. The other dream was me being strapped to a chair in a semicircle, like maybe 6 or 7 of what you would call grays are standing there. And I hear myself crying, like being at the bottom of a well. I hear really loud crying. And then all of a sudden, there's one in the center. She starts making like a cooing noise, the way it, like a bird would make. And then she picks up a mirror and flips it like that. And I see a picture of myself, and my skin is peeled up, and there's a metal box in my head right here. Every time I wake up, like from a start, kind of like a falling dream. I haven't had either of those dreams for years, but I did for, a time after that. I really think that that's connected to what I saw. And I can't prove it other than that I saw the craft, but it's hard to believe that there wasn't something to those dreams. I read some stuff by Whitley Strieber, and he talked about the little doctors and how they're different than the grays, but they work together. So that's what I thought it might be. But then I've read some stuff by Jacques Vallée, and he seems to think, from what I understand, that it's all the same phenomenon: the gray, the fae, the jinn, angels. So there's something about that. I think that maybe that makes a lot more sense, that a lot of these things, they're all the same thing, just different people have given them different names. But I think whatever this is, it's been here a long time. Bottom line is I don't know what it was. I just know something happened. "30 years ago, I wasn't doing so good mentally. For whatever reason, I got caught up running with the wrong crowd, and I ended up going to prison for a few years. I haven't been in any trouble since then, and it wasn't for anything that I have to be on, to check in or anything like that. I've had my rights restored. I can even vote now, so I'm doing pretty good. But during that time, when I got locked up, I had something happen too that I believe is connected. One night I woke up in the dorm, and I couldn't move, but I could see out of the left side of my peripheral vision that there was somebody sitting on my locker. It was like a black robe, but kind of like a shadow. All of a sudden, it grabbed me by my shoulder and pushed me onto my side, and then it took this long silver needle and it held it over the side and showed it to me. And then I said in my mind, "What are you doing?" And I heard a voice as clear as day say,
"Unmasking your memories."
And then it took the needle and it stuck it in the base of my skull, into the middle of my spine, and then the lower part of my back. I don't have any witnesses for this, but for a couple of days, those 3 spots were sore. I can't help but think that there was some connection there. There's one other time where the heaters had gone out in the dorm that I was in, and all they did was give us an extra blanket. And so I remember going to bed and I was shivering. It was so cold. This is like in January. I'm laying there, and then all of a sudden, I wasn't there. I was in a desert, and there was a fog, like morning fog going by, and it cleared, and there was this large golden orb, like almost like a sun, and all this heat started coming off of it, like this deep heat. And then I woke up, and I was in my bunk, but it was like somebody had turned on an electric blanket and heated my whole bed up. I know that whatever that was, it had some external effect. And I wonder if maybe, whatever has been watching me, maybe it had a little compassion or empathy and heated things up for me. But as crazy as that sounds, like I said, I can't prove it, but I know that it happened. One other time when I was 17, I used to go to a magic bookstore, New Age with crystals and stuff like that. And the lady that knew me there said that they were doing a past life regression, and it was like $10. So I signed up for it. And it was after the shop was closed, and there was maybe about 15 people there. And it was in a room right above the bookstore. So it was like a large open room with no chairs. They were told to bring a pillow. And this guy starts talking about how he's going to do a guided meditation for us. I'm thinking this is all cool. And I had my buddy JJ with me. I asked him to go with me. Anyway, as soon as I lay down and I close my eyes, I hear a voice telling me to go up these stairs. Then the door opens and I walk in, and I'm in this all white room with these 3 tubes sticking out. The middle tube just sort of opens up, and I could see, like through a portal, the universe, millions of stars, and, like you would expect if you were looking at something in space. And then this vibration sound happens, and there's this mask that just comes up, kind of shows itself, and then it backs down. And then I pop out of it. I wake up, and I sit up, and my buddy JJ is looking at me. He thought it was crazy, and he told me during this, he heard a vibration coming off of me and this heat. So I asked the guy there what he thought happened, and he got really nervous. He said all he could tell me was like, I channeled a bunch of energy. That's it. He didn't want to talk about it. So we left, and I didn't really know what to think about it either. But I wonder if maybe, I don't know, I triggered some memory or some part of that missing time. But, like I said, it's speculation. But the fact that he heard and felt the vibration coming off of me, it makes me wonder, about memory itself and how things in the subconscious can be stored in parts of the body. And so, I don't know. I used to think when I was young, I felt sorry for myself and some of the things that I had gone through. And I have Asperger's too. I have a clinical diagnosis. So I've always felt a little out of place, and that hurt my self-esteem. I felt like I was less than. But when I started really doing personal work on myself, getting therapy, meditation, and just trying to heal, I started to see that, maybe I do have a purpose, even if it's just to help the next person. I do feel connected. I have a lot of empathy. I have 2 dogs. I have 3 cats. So they're all rescue animals. If I find another animal that's, I'm probably going to bring it home. So I try to just give myself permission and space to be a decent person and to not get too hung up about the past. I mean, I do have a lot of regret. I made some stupid mistakes, and I've really tried to work hard on myself. And I do think that I have a purpose, but I don't think I have any more of a special purpose. I think we all have a purpose, Also, I don't think that certain people are psychic. I think everybody's psychic, in some kind of way. I think what makes it special is when you try to take the time to see what it is that I'm supposed to do, or, you're supposed to do. I'm a delivery driver, so one of the things that I try to do is I just try to be positive with all my customers. Every time I make a delivery, they ask what the joke of the day is. So like I said, I always just try to cheer people up and be an uplifting and positive person. Maybe somebody else that hears this story, that's had some weird things happen to them in their life, maybe they'll recognize some of the patterns in their own life, and maybe, this will help them, I guess, to kind of believe in yourself, to be, doesn't sound too corny, I guess.
I absolutely loved my conversation with Jonathan. The vulnerability that he showed to share everything in his story kind of blew me away. I just had one question for him. He's obviously a believer of the paranormal in some form, but I wanted to know, how has it influenced the life he leads today? Here's what he had to say.
I meditate. I do some active imagination with automatic writing. None of us know for sure what's real outside of our conscious experience, right? So are these forces external, or are they parts of our mind that operate? I don't know. But I know that subjectively it looks like it's an external force. I try to be mindful. I try to be kind and helpful, to everyone around me. Yes, that's my way. I don't really have any formal spirituality. I just, maybe being in the woods with nature is my church.
Finally, I had to ask, Jonathan, what is the joke of the day?
Oh, do you know why it's easy to fool vampires? Because they're suckers. It's terrible. Sorry.
As usual, on Hey That's Weird, I offer all my guests a chance to plug or promote something they're passionate about. Here's Jonathan's.
The Trevor Project. If anybody that's listening to this wants to, check it out and maybe donate, it's a good program. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically it's like a suicide hotline for anyone, but also for LGBT teens that might be going through some hard times.
Mental health and suicide prevention is something that is constantly on my mind. Thanks to Jonathan for talking about it. If you or someone you know is struggling in the US and Canada, you can call Lifeline on 988 anytime. I know I have listeners from all over the world, and every country has specific resources, so search online for your localized help hotlines. Aside from that, reach out to a friend, a family member, or even me if you're struggling. And that does it for this week's episode. A massive thanks to Jonathan for reaching out via email and telling me about his experiences. If you'd like to do the same, you can reach me at heythat'sweirdpodcast@gmail.com or via Instagram at heythat'sweirdpodcast. Take care of yourselves and each other, and until next time, stay weird.